We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. To you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable. We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. To you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
Hello, welcome to the KOTE stream. We're doing a meet the team with the guys from SAS. If you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, you will know that SAS. If you've been living under a rock, you won't know that SAS is the team of the decks of Keyforge, who basically do the best rating system for decks, and were actually featured on a Crucible chat when they were talking about decks. They said that they don't always check the SAS, but a little bit of legitimacy there. How are you guys doing this evening? Today for you?
Pretty good. Just got back from work. Working at school, so that's a little crazy right now. But yeah, I'm good.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Big Z, captain of Team SAS, I guess. It's SAS, by the way. I'm surprised Nathan didn't say anything.
SAS.
Every time we say SAS, Nathan
SAS, okay.
flips, like has an aneurysm or something.
I mean, I at least like it if the team says it the way I intended it.
I mean, I guess you don't want. I guess if you say it wrong, it is a bit of Team SAS.
Yeah, I mean, some people get a little sassy about it, but you know, I just try to educate people.
That makes perfect sense. So, tell me about the team. Tell me how you came up with the name, and tell me what brings you to KOTE.
Yeah, I mean, like Big Z and I originally met at the sealed Seattle Vault Tour a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
We actually played in a tournament, ended up playing each other shortly before that, and I don't know, it's talked a little bit after that game, and then we just hung out in Seattle Vault Tour, met some other founding members of Team SAS, and I don't know, I think the people are just like, hey, let's do a team, let's name it SAS, because it's your what your website does, and that's how it happened, right?
Yeah, we met 2 weeks before the first US Vault Tour, which was in Seattle, the Emerald City something or whatever.
City Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's it. And I won that event. He came in second. That was the first time. I don't think it was I don't know if it was the first time he saw the Battle Fleet nonsense, but I had my
it was
Battle
the first
deck.
time I saw that. You totally caught me flat-footed. I mean, my deck wasn't really intended to beat yours, but
it was. And then and the funny thing is, I think roughly a week and a half after that event, I was doing my own Z score by combining different metrics from DOK and then metrics from the compendium, the Keyforge compendium. It died or whatever, but there was a stat in it that at the time DOK didn't have. It had an efficiency thing. I was so I found the Discord server for DOK and I started messaging, not entirely recognizing that this was the same person that I played in the event the week before at that time. And I was hey, this is what I do. This is why I do it. This is the only stat that I use for this other site. Like, can we talk about getting something like this inside DOK so I never have to go to this other site again? And
He was very persistent about this.
yeah, because I really hated that other site. I was like, I don't like this place. All of their stuff is trash except for this one metric, which your site does not recognize existing.
I mean, the decks of Keyforge, well, the way it rates decks has changed a lot in the last 2 years since Keyforge started, and it's gone from a less of a synergy base to more of a where it's gone more synergy based on the cards that are in there rather than individual cards getting individual points. If I understand it correctly.
It was always about synergies, because I mean that's like what the name comes from, is like synergy.
That's literally
and
my next question.
Synergy.
How did,
Yeah.
for those who are unaware, how did you come up with the name SAS?
Yeah, so it stands for synergy and anti-synergy, like rating system, or whatever. But basically, like, I wanted it to be about sort of both rating cards just for their own value, but then also like calculating like what makes these cards better. I'd seen that they're like burger tokens, like way back when. I think they probably still have it up, but I don't know. Had like these cards go together sort of thing that people would manually enter. I'm like, well, I'll just create something that really rates them with points and numbers and everything myself.
Yeah, no, it's a really good system, and I mean, I started off using burger tokens, and then you've also got the rush system. You had the Ranky as well, but SAS.
Ranky, hold on, Ranky was literally just my scores rejiggered. It never made a score itself.
No, but
it was just stuff from my site.
It
was pretty though.
Yeah, I was going to say, as everybody knows, Ranky was just SAS with more manageable numbers, making it a little better. Like, oh, yours is a 99.9% deck. It's like, if you just hover over the stars on decks of Keyforge, it will literally tell you the information that's a Ranky. But it looks
nice,
so good.
Though.
It was
They
colorful
inspired me to do the stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving along. What got you guys into Keyforge? Do you have any backgrounds in card games? What got you into the game?
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I've been playing card games and board games and miniature games since I was wee little, and worked at a card shop for a long time. So, but I'm a lazy person. I don't like deck building, so Keyforge was clearly a route that was going to work for me. And I have a bad habit of opening decks, and this is like gambling, and I love it.
Card bonding boxes.
On my end, I'm not sure what you just said, but on my end, it was I was a real big board game person, and like my Amazon feed kept popping up this thing, unique board game, Keyforge. And I was like, what the heck do you mean by unique? Everything is just repackaged, whatnot. And hey, I love that repackaged whatnot, because more takes on something good is more fun stuff to play. So yeah, like when I saw Keyforge pop up, like I clicked on it, I researched it, I was like, this looks really cool. The more they started to talk about the algorithm, and how every deck is unique, in that it's all going to play each other. Like if this has this, then this will change, which we're finally getting to see now in Mass Mutations, more of what was kind of promised. That's really where it's at for me. Like I love that aspect of it. And I went and bought a starter set for myself, and I think, what was it, 3 or 4 other families, and we opened it up all together at Christmas time, and we had a blast. It was a great experience, and we're still playing.
Before we get on to your last player, as you just picking up what you said there, Mass Mutation is the first set, as you said, to truly have unique decks, because in the decks beforehand, in the sets beforehand, you could have, every deck was still unique. The cards were different, but the themes were all the same. You had your rush, you had your control, you had your mid-range, you had your combo. But Mass Mutation brought in enhancements, and that makes every deck truly unique. Because even if you've got 2 decks that have the same type, the way that enhancements are going to work, they're still going to operate completely differently.
Exactly. Like Mass Mutations is exactly what I loved the most about the sales pitch. and it's what I like to play the most. It is by far my favorite set to sit down and play. I
You're
don't
getting
think
ahead of
Incinerate-
yourself. That's one of the
Okay.
questions.
All right, I'm done talking.
Okay, and we got one more member that needs to give us an origin
Oh
story.
yeah. How did I start? I heard about decks named things like Farmer of Racism and read about some news articles. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I actually had like heard a little bit about it as like a unique game before, but I just sort of brushed it off, not really realizing what it meant. But then also, I think that as a software developer and a programmer, like I think that sort of group of people also ends up being a little bit more interested and like passionate about a game like this, because it's like, oh, it's like algorithmically generated, like, that's part of my job. And so it definitely interested me in that respect as well.
No, that makes perfect sense. You got hooked on the weird names from set one that quickly got changed.
Yeah, that's sort of what like originally like clued me on to the game. No publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah,
as
I
they
mean,
say.
the deck names are a huge factor to it. I've kept hold of decks purely on the names alone. I've got decks called Warrior Punch or Short Pants Ezekiel. I love
yeah.
them.
For sure.
Yeah, so moving on to one that was just touched on. What are the members' favourite and least favourite sets?
That's probably
Well, my favorite set's MM. It's the most fun to play. I'm not saying it's the most competitive because, well, it's not. But I do love to play it. I think it will, once it finally does matter, will create by far the best sealed environment, just because of the way sealed is and the way it's played. And it's just a blast. It's everything about how it's designed. The average deck is much more playable than the average deck of any set we've seen. I just love everything about how MM is designed and how it is played. Still gonna get crushed by a lot of KOTE stuff, but it's my favorite set.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I've been playing. I tried out KOTE against those stuff, and MM does have a huge advantage because you don't know where those enhancements are. You don't know what those enhancements are. So you're essentially trying to play against a deck that has infinite possibilities as an opponent.
Yeah.
And least favorite set?
Well, we didn't get all the favorite sets. Nathan, Dan.
Okay.
I'm not the only one on this team.
I was gonna do
Well,
I was gonna do one that I was gonna do favorite least for each player as we
For
went
each
along.
person,
Yeah.
Okay. My
'Cause
least favorite set. I think it's gonna be the same, at least for two of us, is AOA. It's just bad. Like I have nothing good to say
Very
about
bad.
AOA. It sucks.
But what if I changed up the question? Least favorite set for sealed.
Least
AOA.
favorite set for sealed
AOA.
is AOA. Like,
Really? I enjoy
I've
AOA.
competitively done very well in AOA, but when you look at AOA in earnest, more so than any other set, do you have a chance to draw 3 decks that literally don't do any, like, have 0 amber control? You have a pretty solid chance to draw, like, pick up 3 random AOA decks and get no amber control, which means you can't do one of the most important aspects of this game with that deck at all.
Worse yet, if you have a pool of like 50 or 100 people drawing those 3 decks, you have the highest chance of someone else getting some nonsense. You have no chance in hell of beating, no matter what you got.
But that's true about any of the sets, isn't it?
Nah, I mean, I think that AOA has some like actually good decks, and most of them really suck. There's very, I'm like interrupting and stealing Z's time here, but so there's like different distributions in terms of deck quality, and I actually think that like sealed mass mutation is really interesting and great for that very reason, because the distribution is narrower. There's many fewer like there's fewer really great decks, but there's also many fewer like really bad decks. So it has the card quality is more similar within the set itself, so it produces decks that are more evenly quality, whereas AOA has like some cards that are just like the entire deck is about this card. Like if you get the combo like Gangernaut, or you get the Jenka combo, or you get like some weird Heart of the Forest thing, there's just like certain combos in AOA that make the decks more about like these uber powered like super combo deck that's actually good, and then most of the decks are just sort of
No, that makes a lot of sense. And especially with enhancements, it means that any house you get has the potential to offer control. You can get capture icons in Untamed. You can get damage icons in a house that isn't known for its damage. So it gives the houses more variety.
Mhm.
But let's move on and go for the next player's favorite and least favorite set.
So I think my favorite is now Mass Mutation. It used to be AOA because it was the biggest gamble in opening. Like you had the biggest chance opening, or low chance of opening something just really, really bonkers with Genka style decks. But just so much AOA is utter trash that you want nothing to do with it. But now Mass Mutations kind of replace that because you can open some really silly enhanced things that will also be real high-end, valuable decks. And I think my least favorite is probably KOTE because opening KOTE has got to be the worst experience in the world to me now. I couldn't open another KOTE deck.
Is it because it's boring, or is it because it's just essentially a gamble of I need something that I can buy more decks with, or something I'm going to throw at a new player?
Yeah, I like. You want to talk about highs and lows? That's KOTE. Like the low end of KOTE is just abysmal. It's so bad. And just even mid to upper end KOTE now doesn't compete. I don't think that well with Worlds Collide and Mass Mutation. The top end KOTE stuff is still really, really good.
I mean, it does
and
depend
there's
on
a lot more of that than the other sets, just because
it depends on the KOTE deck, really. I mean, I've got one that I keep hold of for sentimental reasons. It's according to the SAS system, the SAS system, it's an average deck around 64 SAS, 64, but against the newer sets, it's got double mimicry, double wild wormhole, library access shooter. It does really well against the newer sets because it's able to use their own powers kind of against them. And I kind of have more fun taking my mid-range AOA and KOTE decks and seeing if they can do it.
I mean, a lot of that mid-range stuff is a ton of fun to play. Like, I play a lot of the Archon Corners dailies, and those are just designed to bring out your mid-level whatever decks, because there's always weird stipulations. So you're always playing different and weird decks, which makes it a lot of fun. But, I mean, those, Team SAS here, we're obviously trying, to be the high-end competitive, and that stuff just doesn't carry its weight anywhere.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And again, everyone's entitled to an opinion, and everybody's not going to have the same opinion. But I just wasn't expecting KOTE to be the least favorite from somebody. That's caught me a bit off guard. And let's move on to the final player.
I do like KOTE, but it definitely would have to be, I guess. I don't know. I kind of like Mass Mutation, KOTE, Worlds Collide, AOA. What? What are you laughing at?
That sounds like a non-answer.
Yeah, I mean, in the when AOA came out, the UK Games Expo actually gave away decks that were half KOTE, half AOA, and now I want to see a deck that's a mixture of all four sets, like cards that are exclusive to those sets, mixed together.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think that, like, at some point down the road, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a, like, I don't know, all set, or like some sort of like special promotional expansion that like does something weird like that. It seems in the
like the game that cannot be mentioned, unsets, where we get a set that isn't tournament legal but is just full of wacky, strange stuff.
They could do that, but I mean, they could do a tournament legal, like all houses, all cards, period. Like
all Mavericks, Any house can have any card from any set.
All Mavericks would.
I mean, it'd be like a Magic standard set, right, where it's all just reprints from previous. I mean, that's definitely something they could do when they're 8-10 sets in. Just build a set that has absolutely no new cards in it.
So I take it if all the sets are equally your favorite, that would make all the sets equally not your favorite.
Wait, no, that wasn't my favorite. That was my prioritized order of all of the sets from best to worst.
Oh, I thought you were saying that to do all your favorite.
I heard it the other way too.
That's not what I meant. I didn't do a non-answer. I was saying that Mass Mutation is my favorite,
Okay.
followed by KOTE, Worlds Collide. I like all of those three except for Brobnar and Worlds Collide. That's not okay. And then AOA sucks. And that's sort of my. I was doing more detail than anyone else.
Yeah, that's fair because you were giving it the actual full set. See, I'm one of those people that actually kind of likes Brobnar and Worlds Collide as a support house. If you've got it and it's meant to be your main house, then you're screwed. But I love it as a support house. And that might just because my first Worlds Collide deck had a Power of Fire and a Mega Narp, which to me just seems like pure profit.
Fighting is never profit.
Fighting can be profit. I mean, sometimes.
Right, let's narrow it down a little bit for you guys. Favorite house and favorite card, and then least favorite house and least favorite card. Got you thinking now.
I got this. My favorite. I can do a favorite card in each set.
Ooh, yeah. If you want to go that level of detail.
Favorite house is Logos. In set 1, my favorite Logos card. I mean, it's cliche, whatever, but Time Traveler. I mean, it's just a great card with what it does and all that. It's not actually LA. It was I just like the way the Time Traveler works.
Just one, or do you want the double Time Traveler?
Just like you said, favorite card. One card. Time Traveler is my favorite card. And I do have a double Time Traveler LA deck. Oh, you bastard!
This game is pretty good, actually.
Man.
I mean, I saw you drop a Fandango when you had 12 Amber. I wasn't holding
really
much
needed that.
I really needed that. You'll see why. That sucks. Okay, my favorite house. Yeah, like Logos. Second, set 2, Eureka. I have always loved that card. I actually never got a deck that has like a top end version of it, unfortunately. But yeah, that is by far my favorite. It's probably my favorite Logos card, period. Set 3. I'm a huge Tao Tao Vapors fan. That card is just draw 2, archive 1. Yeah, I could have gone with the Eddie or whatever, but like a lot of my favorite cards are they're not necessarily like the game-breaking shenanigans or whatever, but it's the value cards.
But you say that, but if you get multiple Vapors, they can be game-breaking. At Prime, where I was at, in the finals, a player had a triple Telltale Vapors deck, and they just cycled through their deck so quickly.
I opened a quad Tao Tao Vapors deck at a side event, and it was very fun.
Yeah, like that's and in set 4, I mean, auto encoder. Yeah, it is actually game breaking, but that is by far my favorite Logos card in set 4.
My quadruple subtle auto deck does not like auto encoder.
Yeah, like as far as my least favorite house, I don't really know if I have a least favorite house.
Well, if you were playing all sets sealed, what's the house you'd be most disappointed?
It depends on which set I'm in.
Well, you did a favorite house for each set. Go for a least favorite.
Okay, yeah, all right. By set, my least favorite house in set 1 is probably Sanctum. Set 2, it is probably Untamed. Set 3, Brobnar. Set 4,
Snapchat.
Shadows. Shadows in set 4 is mostly garbage.
That's total BS. It's one of the better houses in it.
Compared to AOA and Worlds Collide, yes, but it has been declining in power since KOTE. And I thought they were the ones that were going with Unfathomable, not this.
I do think the Shadows is one of the better houses in.
I don't think so. I think it's a better house if you specifically have Bonithing and Safe House, but that is not a house.
What about Ransack?
That's a card that's called a house, but
I like Ransack. There's cards I like. There's a lot of cards.
I feel that.
That's the whole. I refuse like mulling your top deck blindly. Like I hate Wild Wormhole, so of course Ransack's way below that.
But you're not playing it, are you? Though you're stealing. It feels
Yeah,
like they
but
went.
like if you have a top deck and you need certain things to like in that deck to happen, and you like randomly discard the top of your deck and it's one of those key cards, like that's bad. I don't like that
It's
at
a lot
all.
more chaotic. It's sort of moved towards the Logos KOTE chaos sort of style.
All right.
Well, okay, let's move along. Corey, Dr. Sheep, would you like to go in with the sets?
And not to correct all of the names, but it's also Doc, not D-O-K-Z, and Corey, not Corey.
Sorry,
Although I'm not sure which one you were trying to say.
Either
Okay.
Doc Sheep or Corey.
Well, I already started talking, so I guess I can go. I actually had to think of an answer to this recently, and so my favorite house is pretty definitively Dis. I have more fun making other people not have fun than actually having fun for myself. So
that's fair. That's fair.
It's sort of like really easy to decide that one.
You'd probably really like my triple toxin double succubus deck.
Sounds pretty fun. Yeah, you get that out. That's a little oppressive. So yeah, I am a fan of Dis, and I had a hard time picking between Sanctum and Brobnar, but I decided that the fact that World Collide Brobnar came into existence was really the sort of nail in the coffin.
Literally was. They left.
Yeah.
it killed them.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm on a favorite for Dis as well. That's always been my favorite. I think my favorite discard though is Ortanu. He's bad, but I don't know. I just have a thing for crummy combo-y junk.
Oh wait, were we supposed to do favorite houses or favorite cards?
Favorite cards. You already got 3 houses a minute ago.
But I just said houses.
Yeah, go. Yeah, I know we're getting a bit off track.
All right, Nathan. What are your favorite cards? And then we'll go back to Sheep.
Sorry. No, you can continue, Dan.
Okay.
And then my least favorite is easily Untamed. I've just never liked Untamed. The first set uncontrollable bursts that it could do sometimes just made the games very much not fun. So I don't know. It's just Untamed. I've never liked Untamed. I still don't like Untamed.
No, that's fair. And cards? What would you say the card that
it's
you're
easily
happy
Heart of the Forest, the worst design all of Keyforge.
I'll second that. Like it's awful. Like that the designer of that specific card, if they're not already fired, should have been.
Of which card?
Heart of the Forest.
Heart of the Forest and Quixelstone are the least fun cards in the game.
No, Quixelstone is wonderful. I love Quixelstone.
Oh no, I love Quixelstone. I think that's clever. Way more clever design than Heart of the Forest. Heart of the Forest is the most miserable experience, even if you win the game.
Like, it's really miserable.
Like I've run a very good Heart of the Forest deck, and every game I won, I was like, "This is miserable. Like this sucks." Like it's
what's
just
the point of playing if you're not having fun?
I know. Like it's.
I do think Gold Camp may actually be a worse design of a card, but it's a little more manageable. But just
I haven't had miserable games from that card though. Like I haven't had a game where I thought this game super sucked.
Yeah, like Heart of the Forest has created sucky games to Keyforge, and I love this game. I've had very few negative experiences of playing a game as far as like whether that game was fun or not. All of the negative ones are from Heart of the Forest.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And we'll head back to Nathan on favorite card and least favorite card.
Yeah, so my favorite card sort of changes over time, and it really depends on sort of the context you're thinking of it in. But right now, I think it's Bad Penny. I think that there's an extent to which like Bad Penny like represents what's cool about Keyforge, in that in any other card game, she would be this unplayable piece of trash. that no one would give a crap about. But in Keyforge, she's like this card that creates like sometimes interesting decisions, but she's like, I don't know, there's some decks where she's kind of like good, but then she's also like in great decks. Like there's a lot of great Shadows decks that just have a bad penny you have to deal with, and you have to like figure out what you do with it. And so I think it's sort of interesting that there's this card that like, you know, really sucks, but you still end up playing it. And I like this sort of like, I don't know, variety, and the fact that like it sort of represents to me the fact that you actually play every card in every set, like no matter what, in competitive decks.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you do see a lot of
Unless
players.
it's a Brobnar card in Worlds Collide.
There are a lot of players that just instantly discard bad penny, but if you get bad penny in a card that you can use, like you said, it makes for interesting combinations. It gives you a lot more options. It also,
But even in some of those top decks, like bad penny is there, as you mentioned. Like we have some great decks on team. Some aren't on the team anymore that had bad penny in them or have bad penny in them. And even though it's a 90% like probably 99% discard, there are even those games like you're coming back to Shadows the next turn, so you do play. It's a weirdly interesting card, and it has a fit in the game.
It also combos with a lot of other cards in Shadows. So it's like a lot of the time you have Pawn Sacrifice with bad penny. Or like it's a target for your Relentless Whispers, and you like lose the first game at like the top level of Vault Tour because you screwed up like this stupid play. You know?
Exactly.
Anything can happen.
And you've also got like the KOTE decks that were set up that had Soul Snatcher, Auto Cannons, Bad Penny, 6 Amber a turn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And least favorite card?
My least, I mean, Heart of the Forest is sort of an easy answer to that, I suppose.
But so is Worlds Collide
I'm not a fan
Brobnar,
of, like,
so...
I guess like maybe like Grommet is like also another sort of good example of like the worst part of like Keyforge, where like you have some cards that like no matter what you have to discard them all the time. Like Bad Penny is like bad, but sometimes like useful, and then Grommet is just like I like never want this in a deck.
Yeah, no, you never want Grommet. I guess I didn't give my least favorite card, so. Assuming that Heart of the Forest is definitely the worst card in Keyforge. Like, if you don't agree with that, you probably got some mental problems. Or you just don't like having fun, or I don't know. Like, there are people.
That needs to be the banner on the SAS website. If you like Heart of the Forest, you don't like fun.
Yeah, you're probably playing the wrong game. So ignoring that one, I think my least favorite card is probably Key of Darkness.
Ooh.
I hate that card. Like when there's so many examples of cards that were better, even in house later. Like I don't know. Like that card was real bad. And I know like rares were, at least in set 1, they kind of went away from this. Like the rares were generally slightly better than other cards or really wonky, like they had their own super niche. That card is just bad. Like I hated to get it in a deck. There's no deck I've ever had that I wanted in there. So yeah, like
I can see that, because you got to think from an R&D point of view as well. Trying to figure out how to power balance the first set.
And that's obviously what it was. Like obviously, you don't want this crazy key cheat inside the highest steel house when Bait and Switch was live back then. Too Much Protect was there. Routine Jobs were there. You had all
original
the
Bait
steel in the
Switch.
World. Set 1 steel has no. There's nothing that compares to set 1 steel as far as Shadows go.
Even
so, like,
even after the nerf.
Even after the nerf, like no, like the amount of incremental steel combined with Too Much to Protect, like all the Routine Job stuff, because shenanigans are still out there. But yeah, like I get that it was hard. Just like I hate that out of all the cards, I hate that card. Like I just every deck that I have it, like I don't play any competitive decks that has it. But yeah, it's horrible.
I have an affinity for Key of Darkness. Like it was in multiple of my very first Keyforge decks, and I've never used it to forge a key. But I don't know, it's as bad as Grommet, but for some reason I like that card. It's pretty.
That said,
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful card.
At a sealed vault, I did win 2 matches with my last key being Key of Darkness that day. Twice in 2 different matches, I did that. I had double Brend. It was in AOA. I had double Brend, and basically I ended up stealing 6 and then forging my last key that way.
Alright. So very interesting choices. Nice range, but apart from Worlds Collide Bromnar being sort of like the baseline of hatred for Worlds Collide. Let's move on to while we're here, the Keyforge online team events. How did you find out about it, and has been your, if you've been here for multiple seasons, what's been your favourite format? What style of play did you enjoy the most?
I can't remember the formats, but I played in KOTE 2 and KOTE 3.
KOTE 2 was each house must be represented, and that was before Worlds. That was with Worlds Collide. So all 9 houses had to be represented. Or was
Okay,
that 3?
yeah. I'm not sure. I think I was in that one, but I had to bow out. So that sounds like 3.
I think it was 3. 2 was each house had to be represented, but couldn't be represented more than twice.
Yeah. So I played in those, and they were fine. I had a really hard time personally in those 2 scheduling events because every single team we played wasn't in our time zone or anywhere close. They weren't U.S. time zones. And I heard that they were doing the regionals, like groupings, and that's why I came back. Because I did enjoy how it was organized. I liked the little YouTube thing about the drafts, like the announcement of who you're playing, like all that was super fun. But I hated trying to schedule teams that were always.
If we're being brutally honest, that is the biggest complaint we've had, that KOTE's had since day one, was the fact that everybody was grouped against everybody since, no matter where you were in the world, and people had to arrange 9 hours.
Back then, it was only Facebook, so it was much harder to contact them via just Facebook messaging or whatnot. So that was also a slight issue.
I jumped in. I was invited by Chris in around KOTE 4 because I stopped playing and I wanted to help out, and I made a big push that Discord should be kind of where we're doing this and getting.
Yeah, like Keyforge is kind of a Discord thing in most of the channels, so it's just like.
It's also the fact we can get the role set up so people can easily get tagged. You can immediately message people. You can find them based on their username. You're not going to a different website, finding that person's real name, and then invading their privacy on Facebook, hoping that they get the notification that they've got a message request.
Yeah, if they randomly see that they have a hidden message request, yeah, like it's.
I'm sure I did some belly aching in KOTE 5 about Discord versus Facebook because I'm not a big Facebook person myself.
No, it's only in KOTE 6, this one, that we've actually made Discord the primary source of contact.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well.
No, it's
and I didn't actually know that was going to happen before entering. All that, like the regional aspect is the main draw that brought me back. And we've won our first round, so that's cool.
I mean, I can't really say about the regional aspect. I'm in the UK and I'm in the Australia regional group, so.
Okay.
No,
sure.
I'm sure it's a new format we're trying, and we're going to be taking feedback at the end towards the end to see how people enjoyed the way it is now. It's just good to hear that these small changes are making a huge difference to the play base.
Yeah.
Corey, Doc, have you got anything you'd like to say about how you found KOTE in favourite formats?
I've been playing since KOTE 3, and I think the SAS cap was my favorite format.
The 200 cap for each deck.
I heard about that. That sounded interesting. My primary deck would not have worked out in that very well, but that did sound like a fun aspect. So I heard lots of feedback about that.
Lots of AOA made it really far in that one. I mean, in the finals, it was a majority of AOA decks.
Well, that's because the best AOA decks are like sassed at like 60 something because Nathan hates AOA.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, my team was on 2 AOA decks, and we made top 16, and then had a little bit of an issue with with timing and some crashing of TCO. But it was still all good.
Yeah. For me, I am so busy working on like decks of Keyforge and stuff that I don't really seek out tournaments too much. But I talk to a lot of people who play Keyforge, so I heard people like talking about KOTE, and I was like, oh, what is that? So some friends like organized a team, and so I ended up playing on a team for KOTE 5, but I actually screwed up, and I like clicked the wrong deck from the chat for one of my teammates, and then one of the organizers, I can't remember exactly who, but he was like, oh, you have 201 SAS. This is a 200 SAS thing. It's like, oh, I make SAS. How did I screw that up? I actually like was so confused. I was like, oh, well, I have another deck that's like 2 SAS lower, so I guess I'll just use that. Like, I don't know how like it got screwed up because I didn't realize I'd screwed up someone else's deck, so then I switched to that deck, and then it was too late, and I'd like horribly nerfed my teammate's deck, and then I nerfed my own deck, and so that sort of was not maybe the best start.
Chris contacts
did not make
Nathan.
it to the final.
You're 1 point over the SAS cap. Quickly changes that deck by 1 SAS.
Yeah, I mean,
Nathan's like, I need to edit the value on this card. It's like,
I would never consider doing that.
No.
We know. This would be funny. It's like, oh, you need to refresh. Refresh your screen.
Ooh, we got a winner. Yeah.
Oh yeah, only way this deck wins is it wins with Fertility Chant, or the other player wins with Fertility Chant. Only way it goes.
That makes sense. So, seeing as we've got people who have been here for a while, people that have been here moderate amount of time, people that have left and come back, what would you like to see in our future? What would you like us to keep? Is there anything you'd like us to change?
Yeah, easier communication and being able to line up games is really the only real frustration I've ever had with KOTE. All the formats have been playable. I'm really excited for this one. Yeah, we get to play Mass Mutation and see how it goes against things.
Nathan, actually, all three of us are in another league that ABR does. One of the things I like the most about that league is the format is actually different each week. I actually really enjoy that. I know it's more to manage on you guys' end, but I like the idea of not being locked into the same format. And you can't even use, in their league, you can't even use any deck more than once. So it also makes like very complicated hierarchy decisions that I've never had to make before in Keyforge. Like, if this week is Triad and they don't even tell us what next week is, that we know what the options of each week are, but we don't know what they're going to be. I might have to save like some. I'm not going to use my best 3 decks because then that takes it off the table for when it's Archon best of 3. Like I really love that aspect of that specific league. And it may like I'm enjoying our first round of KOTE here, but yeah, that league is giving me a different experience than I've gotten anywhere else, and we've obviously all been playing Keyforge.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, KOTE in the past has done 1 week Archon, 1 week reversal, but
yeah, like stuff like that, and the whole idea that I can't use my deck again. So, like, when I know that there's a chance that Triad can be coming, or I know that there's a chance that Best of 3 Archon, or they have a couple of other weird formats out there, too.
Yeah, I was going to say the Keyforge have just done started a tournament with an SAS power creep. So they start off with 55
I
SAS.
saw that. Like, that was also a really unique idea, too, where, like, I think they're literally changing it every round.
Yeah, so after it starts at 65, then goes to 70, then goes to 63, then to 70, then to 77.
Yeah, that stuff's fun. It makes you use decks and make decisions that you don't have to normally. So it adds just another element to Keyforge.
Makes sense. Right.
I mean, I don't mind playing the deck that I'm on right now for all of KOTE, because I mean I love playing the deck. It's obviously my best deck. So yeah, that's cool. But I mean, I played that deck a lot. I like the formats that make me make decisions about decks, and I end up landing on decks that I haven't either played in a really long time, or decks that I just potentially have never played. Because we did, what was that weird one, Nathan? It was reversal, but it had a SAS on it.
Yeah,
the
there was
70
high
SAS
SAS reversal. So
Mm,
yeah,
that's
had-
become quite
Like
popular.
it was a 70 plus SAS reversal, and I had literally ended up playing a deck that I own, but it's probably wrapped up. It's probably never going to get opened or played by me again. And like I had to analyze what reversal meant at that level of SAS. Kind of like talk to the team that in the league that I was on and make a meta decision on. I mean, meta decision at a reversal SAS number that you've never played at is almost blind, right? And that was fun.
That lovingly segues us into the next question. How do you choose your deck for competitive events?
I think Nathan and me, I know there's some people on our team that kind of go a different direction still. At least we had two former teammates that definitely like try to predict the meta. But Nathan and myself, for quite a while now, actually, are fairly confident you should just run with whatever your best deck is empirically, and not worry necessarily about what the field shifts have been. So that's how I choose my best deck, especially if it's Open Archon or in this KOTE event. Like, what deck do I have that I feel is the best, most consistent deck at winning through all of the mechanisms?
Do you take into account things like Heart of the Forest when you're selecting the deck, or do you just go,
nope,
this is the deck, so you just go literally, this is the deck I'm having the most fun with, this deck's got the best win rate, this is what I'm taking?
How often do you end up playing against, like, I don't know, Martian Generosity? Like, it's a significant minority of your games. Like, it's a part of the meta, but like every part of the meta is so small due to the inherent nature of Keyforge and the growing number of sets and quality decks.
Especially now.
I have no idea what I'm going to play against.
So I think coming into KOTE, this KOTE 6, there's a better chance you're going to play against Martian Generosity or Heart of the Forest than you've ever had in the past, because you're going to be playing against AOA decks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid of Heart of the Forest because that card sucks in addition to sucking.
It's okay. We've got a 1 hour time limit now. You don't have to worry about Heart of the Forest trying to get a win.
Okay. But yeah, Martian Generosity, like, clearly, yeah, you're going to play against it, but it still doesn't like affect. I don't know. That card is hard to like even meta against in the first place. Like,
yeah,
I want to be able to win quickly. Isn't that a Keyforge deck? Like, quality? Like,
yeah. I mean, there are some cards in some decks you could look for to toolkit against Genka stuff, but like still, I think there still aren't members of our team that would play against the meta or try to predict the meta. But in my I'm gonna go with the deck that I know. If I'm up against a normal metrically good Keyforge deck, has the best chance of beating that. And not worry about nuanced decks. I mean, there are very few, even of those nuanced decks, that would be advantaged against the deck I'm running. And I think that goes true for Nathan's deck in this KOTE. Dan's running a gimmick deck, but I mean, it's a really good gimmick deck, so there's not much that's going to toolkit against it either, because it is a Jinka deck. Okay.
So I'm playing in the AOA section, so I'm going to watch out for that.
I actually think that your meta decisions should be, for Keyforge, should mostly be made in terms of what you buy on the secondary market, as opposed to what you play in individual events. Like, unless the event is like a really specific type of format or it's a single set event, like if you're playing against like an AOA only field, like maybe you think about that field because it's a pretty constrained like set of good decks you might end up playing against. But yeah, like I try to buy decks that it's like, oh, this deck has like a board wipe so it can survive like a Worlds Collide like spam, or like mass mutation board spam, or like, oh, this deck like has artifact control, well, that's a bonus in its favor. So like I try to make my meta decisions in terms of like what I buy and what I acquire, more than what I choose to play in an individual tournament.
We have had a question in the chat. When the Pete, who's part of the Steel City Snufflegators, because the UK is considerably smaller than the US, we can often know we can often know the players if we're going to a Star Championship or a Prime. We'll know the majority of players that are going to be playing in that area, so we can make a decision based on what kind of meta we expect to see there. If you were going to a smaller event like a Prime and you knew the players that were going, would that affect your deck choice because you kind of know what you're going to come across?
Not for me, because like I guess I have two really good decks now, but like there's just such a gulf between, like, in my opinion, between my like really good decks and my, well, this is pretty good, that it's difficult to choose a different one.
Yeah, I think I'm the same way now. Like my top deck, there's a literal void between my best deck and then everything else I own. That's rather large. So I that wouldn't be that big of a deal for me to decide. If I took away my top deck, then I think I possibly would consider that if I was at the prime level, if I knew all the contestants. But I still don't think I would probably still just end up going with the deck that I felt would win the most often in a blind field.
Okay, getting to the end of my questions now. Do you have any rituals or superstitions for events? For example, myself, I've done a few events. Nothing like, not as many as some of the people here, but the events I've done the best at is when I've used the Yu-Gi-Oh! Egyptian God cards as keys. So if I'm taking an event seriously, people will see that I've got all the metal keys, but I'll only use these 3 cards as keys if I'm hoping to walk away with a win. So do any of you 3 players have the same sort of superstitions or rituals around trying to get a win?
I don't have any superstitions or rituals around getting a win, but I do have rituals at a vault, basically. Like, I have a water bottle I always keep with me. After every round, I go pee and I fill up my water bottle every round. Like, that's just something that started happening. It's more like stay healthy type ritual, but I mean, it is a ritual by definition. Yeah, like I do that between every round, and that's just what kind of my vault / premier event thing. But I
wonder if you played a recording of that time on the round, if your bladder would tell you needed to pee now.
Maybe, I don't know.
Corey, Doc, any superstitions or rituals around Keyforge for yourselves?
I'm a very non-superstitious and non-ritual person. I would say that maybe my self-confidence borders on the superstitious, in that I work really hard to be in the mindset that, yeah, I'm going to win everything. And so I assume and plan to win everything, and I think that helps win things.
I come from the other point of view where I just roll in and figure whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and don't worry about it too much.
No.
But I don't have any superstition either. I just there to have fun, so can't get worked up about anything.
It makes sense. It's just something that I've noticed among players. You'll have certain players that are like, oh, I have to be wearing this shirt, or I've got my lucky underwear on, and it's something that just seems to develop.
There's definitely a shirt I wear every time, I can promise you.
Is that the SAS shirt?
Like 10 of them?
I did pay like $500 some for this shirt and a few other shirts for some people, so
yeah.
Some investment in it, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, I'll go through one. I think I've gone through most stuff I've got here. So I'll just leave it with, have you got any words you want to say out to the people watching, the people on YouTube? Have you got any words of inspiration from Team SAS?
Just keep playing Keyforge. Us as a community doing stuff like KOTE, the KFPL this weekend, the ABR we mentioned a second ago. Just keep playing Keyforge. Find a place to play. If your local's doing it, great. If not, come join us online, play some games, and keep it alive. Buy some fun Mass Mutations decks.
And support your local game store.
Yes, for sure.
All right. would you like to take a quick second to plug the KPL Big Z?
Yeah, we're still taking signups. It is open-ended signup. Right now, we have 53 people for the UK event. It's on your side of town. It looks like that could. I don't know what time that is your time. That's 3 a.m. for me. Is it 9 a.m. on your side of the
I think
pond?
it's usually around the 9 a.m. When the registration closes and 10 a.m. when they start.
Okay, so yeah, like get signed up by 9 a.m. if you want to do the UK one. On our side of the world, it's 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Looks like we only have 38 people. So if you win or are second place, so first or second place at the very end of the tournament, you get into the Premier League, which will have cash prizing. The amounts are going to vary. I think we're starting to get people interested in supporting the league. But yeah, it'll be a cash prize league. You have to earn your entry, and then we'll cycle spots every season. It's all started by Jupiter and Company, one of the people that's helping organize events. It had pre-qualified people. Those people are already in right now. It's just open qualifiers. So 53 people signed up so far in the UK and 38 for the US. So
And
not bad odds of getting a slot.
A lot of the people from the EU one, if they don't make top cut for the EU, they'll jump onto the US one because it starts around 5 p.m. our time. So
yeah, we had a lot of that last weekend in the sealed. In fact, no one from the UK won or came in second in the sealed UK event, but one of them stayed, played in the American time slot events, and came in second place and earned a slot there. But yeah, we were super happy last week. The whole idea of the open qualifiers to get variety in our league pool, our league players. And last weekend we qualified someone from let's see if I get this right. I believe it was an Italian in the UK event, and then I think the second one was German, maybe. I think the second one was from Germany, and then we had the UK one, and then we had someone from Baltimore here in the States. So 4 people from entirely different regions.
that was Julie July who did an interview.
Yeah,
guys?
Julie July. She took it down. She won the whole thing, and that's exciting. So not only was she our American person that entered of the 4 people that we got last weekend, she's our first female league player.
I thought Aurora was.
Oh yeah, our second.
We can't forget about Lydia.
Jupiter said it was the first one on some cast, and that stuck in my head. It didn't sound right when he said it either. I was like, okay, yeah. Yes. Our first American female. That's what he said. That's what it is. First American female league player.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll let you get on with the rest of your days. We'll be back in the later. We'll be doing another video this weekend with the Can't Touch This Keyforge quiz, where they've uploaded some gameplay, like a gameplay snapshot, and asked what the best solution is for this. And I'll also be doing a meet the team with the current champs from Team Sloppy Labwork USA. So we're going to try and get more and more content out for KOTE.
Sounds great.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and